Islam is America's future, or without Islam, America will meet its demise. Islam means submission to the will of God.
All you do is lie, 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 lie.
All you do is lie, 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 lie.
And you thought this show was going to be about Israel. It is. Last week, the Herzl Institute invited Yoram Herzani. We've had on the show before. Herzl. Herzl.
Okay.
Institute. Yoram Herzani. We had him on the show.
Yes.
A couple times. And he invited us. Me and Toby came out. Knox wouldn't come out. He's still got some sort of PSD from slavery he never participated in.
I'm not an international Negro. It's not me.
So me and Toby took the 17 hours of flying to get out there, basically 18 hours of flying to get out there.
I also don't do anything over 4 hours.
Yeah. And Yoram,
you got a point there. I mean, you know,
I don't do anything over 4.
I do sympathize with that.
After limited leg room for 13 hours, you're starting to rethink your life choices.
Yeah, and so the Herzl Institute, they had a kind of this whole trip. Basically, some sort of field trip planned out where we had like military day.
That was a field trip on steroids.
It was.
I mean, it was intense.
They had kind of Christianity Day, Jewish Day, military day. We kind of just went through technology, which was crazy. And yes, the red lasers are real. I think we need to apologize to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I never needed to apologize. I believed her.
And the frogs are gay.
Duh. They're turning them gay.
I don't even know what that means.
So it was a very thoughtful trip, and we got to see
25 lectures, something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
and then
a lot.
And then like we went all over the country.
You know what's hilarious is I got there, and the whole week, every afternoon, it was so hard to stay up. My eyes were bobbing, and I came back here on Sunday. And Monday, Tuesday, no problem. Yeah. Afternoon. Like my whole circadian rhythm was like not in Israel. It was here.
Are in Idaho.
Yes, exactly. I woke up and I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's see, I've been waiting for you guys to get back because I've been absolutely intrigued to know what it was that you guys did and where. Yeah. So I haven't talked to you guys in too much detail. No. But as we were mapping the show out, one of the things that we were talking about was there was 4 takeaways that you guys had.
Yeah.
From going through the whole trip. And so that's one of the things that we want to talk about. So I'm going to be pretty curious about everything. But can we list out those 4 things that you guys walked away with from the trip?
Yeah. So and we're framing this as like, I think broadly, like what should Christians make of modern Israel?
Yeah.
Like what should Christians think of modern Israel?
Yeah.
And so 4 things that Gabe and I came up with was number 1, Israel is the front line of the war against barbarism.
Muslims like that guy.
Muslim barbarism, LGBT barbarism.
The front line of that even?
Even that.
Really?
Even the LGBT stuff?
I want to explain that.
I didn't think that. Go ahead.
Yeah. And then secondly, and this is to answer that, is there is actually a really exciting conservative resurgence happening in modern Israel right now. And so I think it's the kind of conservative resurgence, and that's why I think it's actually standing against LGBT barbarism as well.
Yep, agreed.
That it's the kind of resurgence that I think the rest of the West needs to take notice of and learn from.
Yeah.
Third, I already forgot my third one.
Love the land.
Oh yeah, how could I forget it?
Love the land.
Just
Jesus was born there.
Just thinking about
Jesus died there.
Going to a place, where
incredible.
Like that's our story.
Yeah.
And it happened in a real place.
Yeah.
And you can go stand there and you can touch that. And there's some funky stuff that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But love the land.
Love the land.
Love the land.
Oh, they got you guys.
And then
They got you. Doggone.
They're just getting the land ready for us.
And then lastly, it's just absolutely undeniable. Israel needs Jesus.
Yeah.
Israel needs the gospel. Israel needs forgiveness of their sins, and they need to know the Messiah who
I'd
has
say
come.
that was the saddest part for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we're going to get there.
So starting off with number 1, which is the front line against barbarism.
Yes. All the barbarism that wants to destroy the Christian West. And so I wanted to give like a quick down and dirty. I don't know if I can do this in 5 minutes. I'll try to say it fast.
Yeah, bring me some popcorn.
But I want to do a down and dirty history of how Israel got here. And bring it all the way up to the present to the October.
Yeah, because Israel was not here, and now they're here.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the narrative is it's part of the liberal progressive narrative is Israel is an invasion, they're an invading imperialistic country. They invaded the land of Palestine,
the region,
and they stole the land. And of course, the Palestinians are fighting back because they want their land back. Like, that's how it's been told.
But if Israel was indigenous, it seems like they should have the Palestinians should read a land right every time.
Right. You're thinking too logically, Gabe.
Yeah.
All right. So here's my down and dirty, really, really fast history of how the Jews got there. So the temple was destroyed in 70 AD.
Yeah. From
70 to 600 AD, the Jews are a minority in Palestine under Roman and Byzantine rule. Okay, that's what happened. That's 600 years right there.
Okay.
The Muslims conquer Palestine in the 600s. Okay. Muslims come in, conquer, and they reduce the Jews to what's called dhimmis. Okay. Dhimmis, or dhimmitude, is a second-class citizen that can exist in Muslim lands so long as they pay the jizya. The jizya is the non-Muslim tax.
Okay.
So, like, you can be a second-class citizen here, pay your taxes, and we'll let you kind of survive. So that's what happens for another 500 years.
Okay.
Around 1100, the Crusades start. The Crusades begin, which had really mixed results for the Jews. There's some places where the Jews had a little bit more freedom from the Muslims, and there was also some really bad massacres and mistreatment from the crusading Christians.
Okay.
Some bad stuff happened, and they get scattered, but there's still communities there in Palestine. The Muslims retook the land after the Crusades, and the Ottoman Empire ruled Palestine and the remaining Jews for the next 400 years. So that's 1517
Bring up that map.
to 1917. Okay.
1570 to 1917.
Yeah. So and the thing I want to point out here is all through this time, there are still Jews in the land. They've gotten scattered, and many of them migrate to other places, into Europe and elsewhere. But there's Jews in the land all this time.
Okay.
Even under the Ottoman Empire. And they're even at various points welcomed back into the land. For example,
By the Ottoman Empire?
yes, Suleiman the Great.
Okay.
After the Spanish, they expelled the Jews in 1492.
From Spain?
That's the other thing that happened besides Columbus. In 1492, the Jews were expelled. And Suleiman the Great actually sent out a welcome, like, Jews, if you'd like to come back to Jerusalem, you're welcome here.
Okay.
I just want to underline that. They were not driven out entirely. They were always there. Some of them were always there. There are always settlements there, small minority settlements.
Second-class citizens.
Citizens at various points, but they were even at various points invited back.
Were they invited back as second-class citizens in this particular case too?
Yeah, most
Something
likely.
like that.
Yeah. So, it's not like they're going to run the place. But Suleiman the Great, what I read, he actually recognized that the Jews were incredibly productive people and thought that would be good for the economy.
Okay.
And so he was like, come on back if you want. And so more Jews start moving in during that Ottoman Empire rule.
Cromwell did that too, right? In Britain as well.
1517 to 1917.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to mess up your history here. Go ahead.
It's all good. Anyways, it was actually World War I where things really start moving. The Ottoman Empire joins Germany on the side of Germany in World War I. Okay. Britain, of course, is fighting against them. Britain fights the Ottoman Empire in the Middle East.
Yep.
And wins. Okay.
And so you can see here World War I on the on our map here.
So you've got this map where you've got the Ottoman Empire. The British are down in Egypt.
Yep.
But following World War I, the Brits conquer Palestine. And so around 1917, Britain is in a position to carve out a portion of the land for the Jews. And I just want to underline this because I think this is really a decisive fact with regard to the question of whether the Jews have a right to be in that land. Quite apart from any like theological questions at all.
Is it the promised land? Should they get all that stuff?
Put it all aside.
It's Britain's land at this point.
The Ottoman Empire joined an attack on the West and lost.
Yeah.
And part of the cost of losing wars is losing sovereignty over lands.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to just,
you lose the war,
period.
You lose your land.
Full stop. Like you attacked them. You were the aggressor. And Britain,
it's Britain's land.
Now it's Britain's land. So Britain won and determined it was in their best interest to create an Israeli state.
And so that's what happened in 1948. It was driven by Britain.
Yeah, but it started in 1917.
Yeah. But officially in 1948.
Exactly. Now here's the thing. Frank, go ahead.
I was wondering, is any of that carving out, was that any theological reasons from Britain to do such
I'm going
a
to get
thing?
to that.
Okay.
So there's a mix, actually. But I just want to point out, like, frankly, best I can tell, no one really cared that the Jews were in the land until it became clear that the Jews could make that little arid desert piece of land really fruitful and prosperous and declared their independence.
Yeah.
They didn't mind Jews in the land.
Yeah.
Sometimes the Muslims were inviting the Jews into the land.
Yeah.
Not to own it, though.
But they couldn't own it. They had to be second-class citizens.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay? So the offense was Israel making the land really fruitful and being in charge. Arab Muslims prefer to have the Jews work as their slaves. The Jews prefer the prosperity of free markets and a traditional nationalism. Okay? Now, many Jews had dispersed into Europe over the centuries, of course. Beginning in around the 1800s, so even like 50, 75 years before Britain conquered Palestine, there was more and more discussion across Europe about the possibility of the Jews returning to Palestine. This was a pan-European discussion, but for a lot of different reasons. You were just asking this question. So for some Europeans, it was just straight up anti-Semitism. And some Europeans just expressed openly, we hate you guys. We don't like you here.
Go back to your home.
Go home.
Yeah.
Seriously.
That's amazing.
That's straight up.
Yeah.
Okay? Straight up. And more I've read about this, the more of that actually was going on. It's like interesting. Like we think of that as primarily in Germany in the 1930s and 1940s.
Yeah.
Right.
But actually anti-Semitism was a thing for like 50, 75 years. Germany was kind of a hotbed for it for a long time.
You don't say.
But so Hitler doesn't.
I don't know. Hitler was a painter.
Hitler's not doing anything new.
Right.
He's not really doing anything new. Anyways, that's one thing. And of course, when a lot of people are hating on you, discriminating against you, it starts to become more and more common for Jews themselves to begin talking about the possibility of returning to their ancestral lands. So there's actually a number of prominent Jews that begin talking about it. Some of them are Orthodox practicing Jews. Some of them are secular Jews. But they just start talking about maybe we could go back in the 1800s. And then there were also some Christians who saw...
In Great Britain particularly?
Yeah. Who saw the return of the Jews to Palestine as part of the process of evangelizing them. Now, this is completely outside of weird dispensationalist
Yeah, I was going to
theology.
say
This is not
right?
dispensationalist theology. This is just Christians reading Romans 11 and saying, we think there's going to be a bunch of Jews that come to Christ.
Yeah.
And they thought, well, maybe if we have them all in one place, it's easier to evangelize them.
Okay.
And so there's a bunch of Christians that are talking that way too. And then there's a fourth group, at least, there's probably others as well, of British politicians that were simply interested in a stable Middle East passage to India. You have to remember in the 1800s, there's a bunch of trade going on with India, and they are very interested in a stable passage through the Middle East to India.
So they were looking for economic security.
Economic
ultimately.
security, political stability, so that we can trade, so we can get things up through the Suez Canal, up into the Mediterranean without...
So it's like having a colony in one sense, right?
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Jews were seen as a natural ally against the incursions and instabilities of Islam in the Middle East.
Huh.
So anyways, those are the various motivations. Now, back to the history. You got Britain, 1917, claims this whole region.
Yep.
And from 1917 to 1947, it's just called the British Mandate. There's this sort of, it's just owned by Britain, but Jews are starting to move there.
Or more like the British Empire.
Yeah, but it's referred to as the British Mandate. Then in 1947, the United Nations passed a resolution approving an independent Israel in 1947, and then Israel declared independence as a nation in 1948.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where you have your that's their birthday.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And it was almost immediately invaded by several of the surrounding Arab tribes. Like they declared independence and almost immediately invaded by Arab tribes. And thus began a war of desperate survival for Israel.
Wow.
It should be pointed out that many Arabs had actually moved into Israel
Yep.
under the British Mandate.
Yeah.
Because guess what? When you have the British protecting you and you got a bunch of industrious Jews, things are starting to climb.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing there. You have to realize that.
Stability.
For centuries, there's nothing there, but you have stability and hardworking, industrious people.
Economy starts growing.
And the economy starts growing. And a bunch of Arabs friendly Arabs start moving in. And they're like, hey, look, they got jobs. They got work.
Yeah.
Let's get
They
in
got
on
food.
that. So the original Jewish inhabitants were happy for Arabs to be there, and they worked together. However, when the Arabs started attacking them in 1948 and following,
Are the Arabs from within or the Arabs from outside?
it's from outside,
Yeah.
but that pressure begins to make many of the Arabs feel like they can't be here anymore, and they begin to be kind of pressured to leave by their fellow Arabs who say, this is horrible, this is terrible, they shouldn't be here. There's intervals of war and peace over the next 20 years, from 1948 to 1967, in which Israel fought off, in 1967, the culmination of all this is they fought off 4 invading armies in 6 days.
Wow.
It's called the 6 Days War.
Yeah.
And they end up at the end of that ruling the West Bank, Gaza, the Golan Heights up north and the Sinai Peninsula. That's where you get the 6-Day War. You can see the 1948 Arab-Israeli War on the map, and then the next one, 6-Day War. They've taken that all over now. Okay. And the Israelis argued that they needed to hold those lands because that's where they were getting attacked from.
Yeah.
They keep getting that's where the incursions and the invasions are coming. So we just need to hold this to defend ourselves. Meanwhile, it should be pointed out that many of the Arab Palestinians were heavily influenced by both Islam. So you've got Islam driving this, but you also have Nazism. Like, why were they attacking Israel?
They didn't like Jews.
Yeah. During World War II, the Grand Mufti, which is just kind of fun title, but
Mufti.
But Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Haj Amin al-Husseini, announced this. You have the quote. I think DJ, you got this. Yeah.
There it is.
He says, Germany is the only country in the world that has not merely fought the Jews at home, but has declared war on the entirety of world Jewry. In this war against world Jewry, the Arabs feel profoundly connected to Germany. Okay. So that's the Grand Mufti, the leader of the Islamic Arabs in Jerusalem, proclaiming his allegiance. The same guy.
To Hitler, basically.
He actually physically visited Germany during the war.
Yeah.
So this is 1940s, early 1940s, late 1930s. He aided in the massacre of Jews in Romania and Bosnia personally.
Wow.
And he visited Auschwitz with Himmler.
Uh-huh.
And after doing so, urged the Nazis to accelerate their killings in Germany so that they could quickly come down to Palestine and help finish the job there.
Wow.
He was like openly, we have records of him writing these things. There was even a plan developed with one of the chief engineers of Auschwitz to create a special force in Greece that was prepared to invade Palestine to start doing the same thing to the Jews in Palestine.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they were not just calling them Nazis. Like literally, they were teaming up.
Yeah.
The plan was never executed because Rommel was defeated. The Grand Mufti was granted asylum after the war in Egypt. After the war, he was granted asylum in Egypt with the Muslim Brotherhood. And when the Grand Mufti died in 1974, Yasser Arafat inherited his mantle as the PLO leader, Palestinian Liberation Organization leader. Okay.
Yeah.
And turns out Yasser Arafat was routinely distributing copies of Hitler's Mein Kampf to his soldiers, which was translated in Arabic under the title My Jihad.
Amazing.
My Mein Kampf.
Yeah.
My struggle, my jihad.
Yeah.
Okay. Soldiers found this in the 80s when they overtook one of his camps, and there's just like boxes and boxes of these books that he's like apparently just distributing.
Yeah.
Okay. So the PLO is the Palestinian Liberation Organization, founded after the 6 Days War, 1968.
Can we go back to that map? I want to look at that map while you're talking.
And the PLO has been recognized as the main organization representing the Palestinian interest in that region for a long time. Under Arafat, the Oslo Accords were agreed to. That's Camp David Accords. That's the next map. In 1993, in which Israel agreed to allow the Palestinians to begin ruling themselves in the West Bank and Gaza.
So question, did Israel think for then at that moment in time that, hey, we had pushed back enough for our enemies, we can give back this land now, there's peace there? Or why would they even do that if they know that they have these borders that are always being encroached upon?
I don't know. The guys we talked to this last week in Israel, we asked the question and they said it was a mistake.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have done it.
Particularly the Oslo Accord, weren't they?
They had relative peace while they ran those regions. And then
actually ran them. They had cops or military presence, whatever.
So following the 6 Day War, they ran them from 1967 to 1993, roughly.
Is that Clinton?
That was Clinton. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think they were pressured by liberals. There's a lot of.
We had to probably put pressure on them too, I'm guessing.
But the people we talked to just said we need to take responsibility. We did it. We shouldn't have done it.
Okay.
We also, I'm going to get to this in a little bit, but there's a conservative resurgence happening in Israel, but Israel was founded by socialists.
Yeah, liberal socialists. Yeah.
So they've got they were liberals.
Yeah. They're founding they're reestablishing president or PM.
So there's some of that going on too, where they're kind of progressive liberals, and so they're susceptible to the argument that, well, maybe they've just. Maybe they were attacking you because, they're victims of, you're so rich and you're so white or whatever that,
or so Jewish.
You just need to be nicer to them.
Yeah.
And more empathetic.
And you'll have peace.
Okay. Anyways, they did that. They agreed to the Oslo Accords or the Camp David Accords.
Yep.
And so
that creates the West Bank then, right?
And yeah, so that region
That's how you get Gaza region.
Yeah. So the Palestinians were allowed to again begin ruling themselves in those regions, in the West Bank and Gaza.
But this also makes sense of why the West Bank has Bethlehem, because Israel they were Jews. They don't care about Bethlehem.
Right.
Christians do.
Yeah.
I'm like, we went there.
Yeah.
And when we drove there, our Jewish bus driver and our Jewish tour guide had to get off.
Yeah, they got off the bus and
Christian bus driver, Christian tour guide gets on, and then we go into Bethlehem.
And we drove into Bethlehem because that's under Palestinian rule.
Yeah.
We come out of Bethlehem and they switch again.
Yeah. And then we go back to Jerusalem.
Yeah, I don't like. I think it's like maybe technically legal for them to be there, but it's like kind of dangerous, and they mistreat them. They discriminate against them. They spit on them. I think that's my understanding, but so they just don't. So that's handed over to the PLO under Yasser Arafat. Yeah. Now, technically, Yasser Arafat. I mean, the PLO is responsible through a long period of time of suicide bombings and rocket attacks and all this kind of thing. Yeah. But officially, at the Oslo Accords, he promised not to do that anymore.
Okay.
And although people think officially he never they didn't claim anymore publicly, they still think they were probably doing them informally. But nevertheless, it actually caused some problems with their people, because a bunch of the Palestinians are like, "What the heck?
Yeah,
we're trying to destroy them." And so this is where Hamas comes from. So Hamas comes into existence in the 1990s as a reaction to PLO seeming to go soft.
Yeah,
Yasser Arafat seems to be getting soft. So Hamas comes into being in Gaza as a response somewhat to the PLO softening its public stance. And Hamas starts up the suicide bombings and the missile attacks and so on.
This is the liberals in the trans community. There you go. You're going too far, trans.
So they're centered in Gaza. There's been several intifadas, which are these sort of declarations of war during these years. And culminating most recently in the October 7th, 2023 attacks, when around 4,000 Hamas terrorists broke through the Gaza fence, which is Gaza Strip is this, you can see it on the map, that little dark green strip on the bottom. It's 5 miles by 25 miles. It's surrounded in metal fencing. And they broke through it around like 80 or 90 places, Gabe? Is that what you said?
I thought it was something like 94, 95. Okay, you thought it was something like 80 something. But
anyways, through
the Gaza border wall.
Simultaneously break through this metal chain link wall, barbed wire and stuff.
Yeah.
4,000 militants.
Hamas come across.
Yeah, in pickup trucks.
And what's crazy is like you have probably like a mile from the fence to cities in Israel.
So Israelis are living right along the border.
Yeah.
And there's
maybe 2 miles, but whatever.
There's a few like modernish cities. We went to one.
Yep.
Sederot, I think it was called.
Yeah.
But also what's interesting is all along that southern border are actually a lot of the old kibbutzes, which are little socialist communes.
Yeah.
That are, go back to the founding of Israel, where they were literally socialists and they had these little commune camps, like these socialist camps.
Can't be doing well.
Well, but they're still going.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, these Hamas terrorists come across and just start massacring people.
Yeah.
Like they're just shooting people up. Like they go into these kibbutzes, they're shooting just women, children, men. Yeah. They go into this city, Sederot.
They tried to take over the police station.
Took over a police station.
And Israel troops basically end up bombing the police station and destroying the police station.
We went there, we stood on the place.
It's crazy.
And it's now just a monument.
Yeah.
But the big thing that really hit the news was also that there was a major music festival going on called the Nova Festival, a concert festival.
And it was basically out in the campground kind of wilderness. But before a city that the Hamas were trying to attack.
Yeah.
And they just got caught up in the Hamas troops coming through.
We went and visited it.
Yeah.
I mean, they have
it's pretty sobering.
Yeah, pictures of all the people that were killed. There were about and there were videos at the time. Yeah. Hamas took videos of themselves killing women and children, kidnapping women and children, raping. I mean, all of it.
Yeah.
There were 250 hostages around, 250 hostages taken.
Yep. Now they're down to something like 50.
Many of them have died in captivity. There's a number of them that we don't like. No one knows where they are. There's about 50 left. With about they think only about 20 of them might still be alive. This is almost 2 years later.
Yeah. And it also, when the Hamas troops came over, or terrorists came over, they actually took over the region for about 3 days.
Yeah, it took about 3 days for the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, to get full control of it back, and then drive them back into Gaza. They did that, and then they had to actually they were concerned, and I think many people think it was the plan that Hamas was going to be the opening movement, and they believed that the plan was then a number of other Muslim terrorist organizations,
kind of in North Israel, West Israel,
Hezbollah and Lebanon and other places, were all going to attack simultaneously. Well, Israel believed that too, and so they pushed Hamas back into Gaza, and then immediately sort of paused, and then actually carried out like a 3 or 4 front war. They attacked Iran. That's where we ended up in, like, just this last summer with the war on Iran. They fought back Hezbollah and other insurgents just to hold the line. And we were told while we were there, the plan is for them to now sort of like finish. I don't know what that means exactly, but they're try to sort of finish Gaza.
Yeah. You know what that means.
But one thing to also point out about all this is that the UN has been pouring billions of dollars annually into the Palestinian ghettos since 1948.
Yeah.
So right after they declared independence and the Arabs started attacking, the UN declared basically this is some sort of humanitarian crisis, and in the name of humanitarian aid has been pouring billions of dollars annually, including money from the United States, no less. So it's like the West Bank and Gaza are like UN welfare states.
Yeah.
Like, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
It's all tagged as humanitarian aid, but most of it goes to the governments of those regions, which are run by PLO and Hamas.
Yeah.
It's like,
so they're funding it.
The UN is basically propping up terrorist organizations, and given how much the US gives to the UN, how much of that is like, are we propping up our own terrorist organizations? And of course, the giant behind all of this is Iran. This is I'm nearly to the end here.
Okay, all right. I'm just trying to figure out. Go ahead.
But Iran is, of course, behind this. Iran provides hundreds of millions of dollars annually to these terrorist organizations. Hundreds of thousands of rockets and missiles, as well as anti-tank missiles, drones, and training. The Ayatollah of Iran routinely and openly calls for the destruction of Israel and America and the West. He calls Israel the little Satan and America the big Satan, the great Satan. That's the leader of Iran.
Yeah.
By the way, he's the one that has popularized the phrase "Death to America."
Wow.
"Death to America" is the chant, the slogan of the Iranian Ayatollah.
Wow.
And I just want to bring this home. So it might be tempting to say, "Wow, that's interesting, that's crazy," but that doesn't affect me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I want to bring this home.
Yeah.
What should Christians think about modern Israel? Israel is the front line of every form of barbarism.
Yeah.
And what I mean is, meanwhile, there has been an almost uncontrollable flood of Muslim immigrants to Europe and Great Britain.
Yep.
Pouring in to Europe and Great Britain.
Yeah.
Islam's influence is exploding. There's been a massive, uncontrolled immigration problem of Muslims from the Middle East.
Yep.
And all those Muslims are having lots of kids.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Europeans aren't.
That's right.
Brits are not.
Yep. Did you see that video going around? We couldn't find it to play it, but a Muslim in Britain was in an argument, some sort of street argument, and told the Britain guy, "How many kids do you have?"
Yeah.
And he's something like 1 or 2 or something like that. And he's like, "I got 5.
Yeah. We're going to win.
We're going to win.
Yeah. So some estimates are that portions of Europe, Sweden, France, and the UK in particular, could have Muslim majorities by 2085.
Man.
Muslim majority. And there are already places where it's like a Muslim city council, a Muslim mayor. The London mayor is
we got that problem here right now. Dearborn, Michigan, and Minneapolis.
Britain alone has gone from just 13 mosques in 1963 to over 2,000 mosques and prayer rooms today. The Muslim call to prayer is no longer rare or unheard of in England. And we are now seeing similar inroads in America in places like Dearborn, Michigan. Okay?
Minneapolis.
I mean, it's like stop and think for a second. I mean, it's like, Gabe, I don't know how it hit you, but when we went into the northern region, Shiloh in particular, which is part of the West Bank, there are Muslim cities, and you can tell there's Jewish cities and there's Muslim cities, and you can see the what do you call them? The spires, the minarets.
Yeah.
The minarets of the mosques. And when we were standing in the old Shiloh, we heard a Muslim call to prayer. And
echo into the hills.
And it was eerie. It hits you in the gut. It's like this is a dark religion. This is a violent religion. And when they chant their calls to prayer, they are publicly declaring the lordship of Allah.
Yeah.
And Islam means submission.
Yeah.
Submit. And that's what they're calling. That's what they're calling.
Everyone submit.
Everyone submit. Everyone submit. And it's eerie. And anyone who loves freedom, and the Christian West, needs to hear it as a declaration of war against our way of life.
That's starting to happen here.
I know.
In Minneapolis. Minneapolis literally changed their city council or their city code to allow for the prayer to go out outside of the church publicly.
In 2023.
Do you have that?
It's not a church.
Well, go ahead.
My bad.
Play it.
Yeah, play this.
The city of Minneapolis changed its noise ordinance, now allowing the Islamic call to prayer to be broadcast from speakers year-round 5 times a day.
5 times.
She's smiling. That's inside.
Muslim call to prayer, recited in here, heard out there.
There it
is.
is.
It's a very simple message to share the greatness of God and to call people to success. We built America on this basic principle of freedom of religion. So today, actually, it's a victory for our Constitution because our Constitution is for all Americans, not just some Americans.
All right, so I think you have a clip.
So much to say about that video.
You have a clip about in England.
Yeah,
here's somebody just taking a little clip of the call to prayer in England. It's just eerie. Like that's Christian England.
You don't wake up to that in the morning.
No, it's a declaration of war. It's a declaration that we are conquering you.
If I had church bells, I'd just start ringing them loud now.
So play that Herzl Ali clip real quick. This is a friend of ours interviewed this former Muslim.
I sat down with Herzl Ali, a former Muslim who has spent decades warning about radical Islam.
What is da'wah?
Da'wah means literally to call or to invite non-Muslims to Islam. It also means to Islamize its institutions. It's very important for Americans to understand that it's a process of subversion. It's a subversion of the foundational principles of America. It's a subversion of the institutions of America. So in 2006, it was unthinkable for a man born and raised in Michigan to shout to a large group of a Muslim audience, death to America and death to Israel. And in 2024, this is happening, and that is a clear-cut result of years of da'wah.
So in many ways, modern Israel is the frontline defense against anti-Christian, anti-Western barbarism.
So
principally Islam, but to the extent that the progressive rainbow perversions are aligned with Islam too, if Israel falls, Europe and Britain are next.
How does that work? Explain that for me. So how
Britain's already happening. So it's not just next.
But Israel hasn't fallen, and it's already. You already have those. So how are they the front line?
Well, I think it's because they're right in front of them. It's like they're a standing. They're standing there. Like there's other fronts.
Yeah,
there's a front in France. There's a front in Sweden. There's a front in Great Britain. There's a front in Michigan.
Well, in Great Britain's paying for them actually to come over.
Yeah, I know. But Israel is in their backyard.
Yeah,
and I think Israel is while Israel is there, I think it is taking more of their attention.
Tome wins the toss, chooses to receive the Bible. Patterson back with the kick.
Oh my goodness!
The American church is a mile wide and an inch deep. Bigger buildings, slicker productions. We've traded shepherds for CEOs and prophets for marketing experts.
How much money did you pay for Tyler Perry's Gulfstream jet, for example?
Well, for example, that's really none of your business.
The result? Cultural surrender dressed as relevance.
Then if people get mad, they get mad at Curtis, Russell, and David.
While our cities burn with paganism, we're busy building better light shows. While Rome burns and we fiddle Led Zeppelin covers. Our fathers built hospitals and universities. They transformed nations. We can't even transform our neighborhoods. Want real change? Build strong parishes. Start classical Christian schools. Feast together. Worship together. Build communities that last. Support churches that train up generations of culture shapers. Where psalms are sung, scripture is preached, and Christ's kingdom advances. Join the Reformation.
And I think by planting a flag of broadly Western values, conservatism, and just being anti Islam, I think they're actually helping.
Well, and the geography is also really striking here because Israel, like one of the things when you go there, it's not a big land.
Smaller than New Jersey.
Like you go
smaller than New Jersey.
You go from the Mediterranean Sea to Jerusalem in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You can go from basically the north tip of the Gaza Strip, kind of that southern Israel, all the way up to the border of Syria and Jordan, and it's like a 2.5 hour, maybe 3 hour drive max and stuff. That's most of Israel right there.
I'm still trying to see. And
they're surrounded by Muslims and Hamas, and it's crazy.
So what does that mean though? So if they're the front line, you're saying do what so that they gather the attention of Islam so that it stops its drip into the rest of Western society?
Right. Yeah, I'm just saying. I think them existing, them just being westernized human beings, them working hard, being honest.
Are they not now?
Having families. No, I would say. Well, this actually goes into my second point. Is I think part of what I think helps this case would be the conservative resurgence that's happening in Israel.
Yeah. So I see what you're saying.
Yoram Hazani's conservative
their liberalism has allowed the encroachment of Islam inside of their society, which is starting to bleed off. I'm still trying to figure out how it bleeds off into the rest of the West. But you're saying that they're becoming conservative creates a roadblock from more Islam bleeding west.
Yes.
Interesting.
I mean, the Western countries can still suicide themselves.
I was going to say, we're doing a pretty good job of it.
So to the extent that the Western Europe and Great Britain don't wake up, and they continue to just suck the fumes of wokeness and all this kind of stuff, like they're just going to keep paying for their destroyers to come.
Well, that's my argument, though. I think, Pastor, is like, I see what you're saying, and I'm saying, well, I think my faithfulness to God and the faithfulness of the West to Christ is itself the protection against Islam. And the lack of faithfulness to Christ, doesn't matter what kind of front line Israel's on, we're going to fall anyway.
I guess part of the point would be, I think that the resurgence of conservatism in Israel is a sample or an exhibit of how conservatism can also resurge in France and Sweden and other places in England.
I think, then I would say, well, what is that conservatism made of?
Yeah, let me tell you.
Yeah,
after this ad.
What a tease!
Hold on, that's amazing, Toby.
Every dollar you spend supports either your values or works against them. With Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, you can make a difference without sacrificing quality. Patriot Mobile offers exceptional nationwide coverage by utilizing all 3 major U.S. networks and even allows you to add 2 numbers on different networks on one smartphone. Stay connected with flexible, unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, and internet backup. Most importantly, a portion of every bill helps spread the gospel, defend the unborn, and support military and veteran heroes. Switching is easy. You can keep your number and phone or upgrade. With Patriot Mobile, 100% U.S.-based team, you'll be activated in minutes. Visit patriotmobile.com/crosspolitic or call 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT, to get a free month of service with promo code CrossPolitic. Make the switch today. That's patriotmobile.com/crosspolitic or call 972-PATRIOT. Okay, so ask your question again.
So conservatism, to me, I look at conservatism in America, and I'm not really proud of it.
Well, yeah.
Right? Like I look at it and it's like it's not looking good. We don't even have an idea of really what true free market is anymore inside of conservatism.
Right.
You know, so I'm asking. I'm looking at Israel and I'm like, okay, so you guys are seeing this resurgence that's happening, and just like, okay, that's good because it's going to create some sort of defense against Islam taking over the West at one point, right?
Literally, they're fighting back against Islam.
Yeah.
And in a certain way, sort of in a broadly human way, common grace way.
Yeah.
Exercising dominion in a place that's just full of chaos.
So is that?
But I'm saying, but secondarily, it creates an inspiration to other countries to say, we can do that.
Yes.
If they're fighting for their existence like that, how much more so should Christian nations
be fighting
for their existence?
Yeah. Because I guess what I'm concerned about is like conservatism that is without Christ is not going to have a very long-lived success.
It's true. It's true. Which is why it's important that number 4 be they've got to find Christ.
Yes. So then looking at that conservatism, I'm saying, and I'm trying to look at it this way. If a pagan nation decided to say, listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to punish homosexuality. Yep. We're going to get married and have kids. Yep. And we're going to try and create some sort of equality under the law the best that we can.
Right.
Like that has some sort of residue.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that's going to last or if you can get that inside the people, because you got to have a moral people to be able to do that.
I know.
So there's all sorts of these things that are wrapped into that I'm like,
but that's kind of what this resurgence is trying to do.
Become Christian.
Well, yeah. They don't know that. They don't know that yet.
But they're trying to make it more
I guess
Torah.
What I'm saying is, the first part. They can't do it without Christ, ultimately. It can't succeed ultimately without Christ. But there is a so I mentioned earlier, many of the founders of Israel were socialists and liberals, and there's been a strong liberal streak in Israel for decades.
Yeah.
Okay. But there is a notable conservative nationalist resurgence in modern Israel that Gabe and I witnessed.
Yeah.
It's and broadly I would describe it as a love of their culture, a return to their traditional Jewish religion, including public Sabbath keeping.
Yeah.
It's the wrong Sabbath.
Yeah.
But they're going back to like traditional ways. Family values,
having kids.
I mean, you go through. My wife, who went with me, like that was one of the first comments she made. Like on the airplane going from Frankfurt down to Tel Aviv, all the kids, piles of kids.
Yeah.
Looked like Moscow.
So
Idaho,
Jews flying out of Germany
with lots of kids.
Not surprised.
Children are everywhere. Israelis now. It's really like the demographic is still split. Like there's a war going on, a culture war going on in Israel.
Yeah.
But if you take all of Israel, they have a 3+ birth rate. That's the highest birth rate among all developed nations. But among Orthodox, so I'm like talking about like practice Torah observant Jews and ultra Orthodox Jews, the birth rate jumps. Okay. It's like 4 to 7.
Wow.
In Israel.
I don't like to get beat like that.
For real.
They're beating.
I'm just telling you,
For real.
I don't like it.
But cohesive families. Like there's communities of like, who knows what's going on behind closed doors and all the rest of it. But it's like, at least in terms of public life, there's a celebration of family, a celebration of family meals, a celebration of being together, of loving, having brothers and sisters, cohesive families, eating together, drinking together.
One of the things that you guys talked about a little bit in passing was the fact that the globalistic liberalism is live and well and trying to fight a lot of what's there. And so in one sense, I see this and I'm saying, man, when COVID was happening, to see anybody from any other nation say, I'm not going to wear your mask.
Right.
I refuse to bow the knee. I'm going to go and have dinner with my family. I'm not going to stand 6 feet apart.
In America.
Right.
And in America,
everybody gets to eat. Man, that clip is so old and it still needs to be ringing.
It's so good.
And so there is this kind of goodness to see that, okay, I want everybody else to be fighting this global monster that we have.
When Joe Rogan says, I'm going to do ivermectin.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
Right.
It's a weird point of cheering.
Yeah. But
I would include, if you just look at Israel in this political demographic thing. I mean, Israel has its obvious liberals. In fact, liberals have had a huge impact on Israel. And then they have their neoconservatives. And then, it was encouraging. They have, Yoram Mazani's kind of, Jewish, nationalism movement. We'd be Christian nationalists. He'd be a Jewish nationalist. And so you still have all those like political dynamics at play, just like we have here in America too.
Right. Yeah. But I would just say the point is that there's a real fight happening. And so when I say first line, like the first line is against Islam, but the first line is also happening in Israel between progressives, old liberals and socialists, and a more old school traditional way of life that believes in freedom, but that's rooted in the Old Testament.
But even, and I don't know, this is just a real side point, but even some of the friends in the Herzl Institute we were talking to, it doesn't seem like they have a I don't know if a desire would be the right way to say it, but property ownership is not really a big deal to them. There is no property.
Well, not if you start as
there's no property ownership.
Everything's owned by the state right now.
Yeah. And then you can't self-defend. There's no right to self-defense with a gun.
Yeah. Well, that's actually one of the interesting things. It's like so there's like the patriotism. Like that would be another thing. Like that's anti-globalist. Like we're thankful for being Jews. We love our land. We love our way of life. Now, I happen to think Second Amendment is more Christian,
it's key to that.
more free.
But property rights, but one of the which is a Torah thing.
Yeah. Hopefully they're getting there.
Yeah.
But it's striking. Like I think because of the existential crisis of just existing, they've been forced. Like reality, liberals in wealthy countries often have the benefit of conservatives protecting their delusions.
Yeah.
They're like they say crazy things.
Yeah.
And then because enough conservatives are actually living in the real world, they keep the world safe for the insane.
Yeah. Enough about Dearborn, Michigan.
Yes.
Or New York. The governor or the mayor thinks he's going to get back to government-owned stores. Crazy things.
Yeah. But when you live in a world where like terrorists might run across the border any minute and shoot up your family, like it's kind of hard. And so like the liberals in Tel Aviv, we were told the media, the mainstream media in Israel is just as bad and liberal and crazy and whacked as Western liberal media. And they're constantly talking about how horrible Israel is as white colonizers, and the Arabs are the colored, whatever minorities that are being oppressed.
Oh, they're the black people?
Oh, yeah.
Hilarious.
You didn't know that? Okay. No. Anyways, but you can only do that so long. And then when you have actual terrorists running across the border and shooting you up, everybody's like, no, that's not what's happening. And so the patriotism is palpable. 50% of Israelis serve or have served in the military. 50%. You know how many serve in America? 2%.
Yeah.
They don't have a Second Amendment right, but soldiers that are former soldiers can ask to carry firearms, and soldiers that are either enlisted or on duty or like off duty or reserves that are off duty, many of them are actually required to carry open. So we saw so many people walking down the street. You'd see a guy just walking down the street, M16 strapped on his back, handgun on his side. We walked into a restaurant. There was a dad with his kids and his family sitting at a restaurant table just enjoying dinner together, M16 sitting on his lap.
Wow.
And, how do you think liberal progressives like that?
Yeah.
Like they don't even know what that is. Here's another example of conservatives. So I would say that just the reality of we need to protect ourselves. That's conservatism. The visual, cultural, and urban differences between Israel and the West Bank are also obvious. Just like you have a thriving culture, and you're driving along, and you cross a line, and it is dead.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing.
The Palestinian region is just dead.
The contrast. Remember, Jerusalem is only 8 miles from Bethlehem.
Yeah.
And you go from Jerusalem to Bethlehem, and it's like a third world country.
Right. And again, I mentioned this already before, but like there's a resurgence of conservative Orthodox Jews that are Torah observant and 10 Commandments and so far as they hate abortion, they hate pornography.
Yeah.
They hate the destruction of the family through liberal progressivism. You've probably heard this before, but like it's been said as an example of how liberal Israel is, that Tel Aviv has a huge pride parade every year. Yeah. But have you also heard that there's an annual anti-pride parade in Jerusalem? No. that doesn't mean the whole land is conservative, but it's like,
right.
but there's a resurgence of no, we're not going that way.
How big is that resurgence, and how far is it infecting the rest of Israel?
Well, it's hard to tell, and that would be a great question for Yorm. I'd love to hear, but here's a couple of maybe sample anecdotes.
I would say it's at least you can see it in some levels. Yeah. Just if you're barely paying attention, kind of thing.
Okay.
But like I would say, one of the big things that they pointed to, the Herzl Institute guys pointed to, is there's been a pretty big fight over what's called judicial reform.
Yeah.
So like in America, one of the things that they've had problems with in Israel is activist judges legislating from the bench.
And they got a real constitutional problem beyond ours.
Yeah. They don't really, they haven't had a good constitution. And my understanding is so there's this judicial reform movement, which is, has basically passed, or is in process of passing, which is going to require judges to only rule based on the law.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, baby steps, you know. But because before that, they've just been like, they just by like fiat, like we rule this. Like, and it's basically like a weird like aristocracy that's like competing with the legislature. So the legislature passes a law and the judges say, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, no. Your job is to only rule based on actual written law. But I would say that's a pretty significant victory that seems like it's in the process of going through. It's still being contested in certain respects. But I would say that's one example, though, of their highest Congress, Knesset, has passed judicial reform.
We met a couple of Knesset members talking about this.
So I just think that's a sign, though, that it's on the right.
It's taking foot. Maybe
it's heading the right direction. So that would be my second thing. Christians ought to think that Israel is one model of how a conservative resurgence can happen in the West. If they can do it with, being attacked on every side constantly, then we can do it with Dearborn, Michigan. The Brits can do it.
Especially if we are, as a Christian nation.
And we have Christ.
Yeah. There's no question about that.
I just think that matters.
So then, did you guys have any experiences being there in the land that strengthened your faith at all, or made it kind of like richer? Because that's one of the things that everybody talks about with going there, and because you guys did, you have a point, your third point, which is
love the land.
Love the land.
Yeah. I did in the sense that, we got to go to Bethlehem. The Sea of Galilee was probably the most impactful to me.
Yeah. Sea of Galilee.
Yeah, Sea of Galilee, or the Lake of Galilee that Luke would call it a lake. The rest of the Gospels would call it the sea, and it was the most impactful. Just I don't know why. Seeing a beautiful lake there was a really pretty lake.
You saw the synagogue where Jesus probably initially went in Capernaum, where he said, today this is being fulfilled in your midst.
And then you see Peter's the foundations of his house. It was his most of the land sites there in Jerusalem or whatever, maybe had like 20 feet, 30 feet of rubble on it over wars, over centuries, and things falling down and just bulldozing and stuff like that. But Peter's house, his foundation was there. It was real. It wasn't like a monument built on top of a monument kind of.
They built a spaceship cathedral on top of it, but underneath it you could still see it.
This is the crazy thing.
Those 70s Catholics, they were wrong.
They
were wrong.
Crazy. And this is I'm actually kind of mad at the Catholics and the Eastern Orthodox right now, because over the Church of the Nativity, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, all the sites you go see where Jesus supposedly was crucified. You go see the place where Jesus supposedly died. I think there's good debate and good arguments. At least you're in the vicinity, whatever. Yeah. And you go to Bethlehem to see where Jesus was born. All these things. Churches were built right on top of where they said it happened
to protect them.
And I understand there's no real land rights back then, and so you just built on top of it to own it, to name it and claim it,
protect it.
And then, but like you go to see where Jesus was buried on the skull of Golgotha, or as they called it, that's where they were claiming it was. And all these churches just kind of built right next to each other and on top of each other, all trying to claim it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of ruined the memorial for me. And then on top of that, their idolatrous imagery and inside the churches and everything were pretty silly. But
I think
I would say the point I was going to make was
you just made the opposite point.
Yeah, I know. I was like, Gabe, I don't think that's helping your point.
I'm mad at them for their stupid memorials on top of it. the Mount of Olives was a little more clean. There were still some churches built on it, but
I have no problem with churches built on these sites at all.
Maybe it's just I have a problem with the Catholic Church being built on top of it. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, you just want a Protestant church on it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is one of the ways you protect those sites.
And I understand that.
But I do think that they,
but the Mount of Olives, they basically had roped off a highly likely place where Jesus knelt down and prayed. And there was olive trees on that land that dated back about 2,000 years.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of, the Son of God walked here.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to turn that into any idolatrous thing. I think memorializing is great.
Yeah.
Getting all worked up and super emotional about it. I think it's like, no, you
about the churches built on the sites.
Yeah, well, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. But I think memorializing, that's the Son of God.
Yeah.
Walked here. He walked on the water here.
No, that's what I was thinking. It's like when I went down and, I put my feet in the Sea of Galilee.
Yep.
And I was like, Jesus and Simon Peter walked on this.
Yep. Simon Peter for like a second.
Yeah. I mean, maybe like 10 seconds. I don't know. But it's like
it just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah. Oh, I just think it's cool.
Yeah.
It's mean. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think here are some of the highlights for me. I loved, you're standing there at Shiloh. It's probably where the tabernacle settled when they came into the land. And there's like, and one of the ways, like, how do we know this is the place? You ask the question, and he says, well, he read a few verses. I don't remember if it was Joshua or Samuel, and it's describing the location. And he says, it says that city is just south of there. And he says, look, it's right there. And it's like still a city, the same city, still there.
Yeah.
And it's in the same direction as Shiloh. And he says, and then there's a road going up from there. And you look down, and now it's a highway.
Yeah.
And it's a road in the exact same place where Samuel says there's a road.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, like this is just cool. And then one of the funny things that one of the other people on the trip with us pointed out as we were just kind of looking out at it. She said, Shiloh, that's the place where at the end of Judges, the Benjamites, they got that problem with that and not having enough women to be married to, and the elders get together and have a council, and they're like, well, there is that festival up at Shiloh, and when they harvest the grapes for the wine, the women go dancing in the vineyards, and we're looking down, and what's across the hillside?
A vineyard.
Vineyards. And you're like, whoa. I just thought that was fantastic. Gaza. You're driving down next to the Gaza Strip. There's a city called Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
Gaza's the city where Samson went and tore the doors of the gates of the city off and hauled them up to Hebron.
Yeah.
It's like there's still Philistines there.
Yeah. Palestinians are Philistines.
It's the same thing. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying like that's what they have going on. And then one of the other things that was pointed out was like that's actually the same region also where Sarah was kidnapped.
Yeah.
Abram said, I need you to call me your sister because we don't trust the people in this land. And if they find out that you're my wife, they might kill me and steal you to be in their harem. Right. Well, of course, the guy finds out his sister and he steals her and takes her into his harem anyways.
Yeah.
That's in that same region.
Yeah.
It's like they're still kidnapping people today.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like, and the same thing had happened with Isaac and Rebecca.
Yeah.
I found things like that actually more interesting.
It's kind of like the story that you've always
this is the place. This is this is and those are my stories.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My people are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. My people are the prophets who stood here.
Yeah.
My people are the prophets who bled here.
Mm-hmm.
My people, my Lord lived here, was born here, was crucified here, rose from the dead here, ascended into heaven here. I think that's something that's worth remembering and loving. And again,
and visiting.
I'm with Gabe. We talked to an evangelical pastor actually in Bethlehem and asked him about the land and everything and why are things so rough in Israel? I don't remember the exact question, but he said, well, I think the Christians fight too much. To your point,
yep.
They're we were told multiple times that those churches have these like lines. Invisible lines, and they apparently have been at each other's throats over the years.
There's up to at some point 7 churches that rule
are fighting over a land.
Church of Holy Sepulchre,
fighting over the grave or whatever. And he says Christians fight too much, and there's too much idolatry. And I look, that's fair.
Yeah, good summary.
I think that's I think that's true. But I still think, you know, the fact that you can still go to that place where all those things happened and you can still see where it happened. I don't think it's absolutely it's not necessary at all to believe, and not necessary at all to I wouldn't say my faith was strengthened.
Yeah.
I wouldn't describe it like that at all. I would just say it's just like seeing where you're from.
Yeah.
Like I already you know where you're from.
I love going back to Denison, Texas.
Yeah, like my parents are in Alaska this week, you know, and they're sending us pictures of the houses they grew up in Alaska. It's like, that's cool. Like that's where you lived. Like that's where you skinned your knee, and that's where you had birthdays and anniversaries. So I just think that's fun and cool and just something to celebrate.
Yeah.
Did you guys go to the wall?
Oh yes.
Oh man.
Oh yes. On Shabbat.
Okay. So
on their Friday night.
So this is
Sabbath.
4.
Oh boy.
So this is 4.
I need bourbon.
So this is 4. Israel needs Jesus.
That's right.
And
that's right.
And I think one of the saddest things I saw was the wall.
Yeah.
We went there twice.
The superstition of it.
The first time I didn't know. I just wasn't really familiar with what was going on. So I walked all the way down in there. Got so the wall on the western wall of the old Temple Mount, the top of the mountain, top of the old Temple Mount is owned by Muslims. So the Jews can't go up there, or at least it's very heavily guarded. I heard that you can kind of get on
like 10 a day or something.
You can get in a lottery or something like that and win a prize to go up and see the rock on top of the mountain.
Has to let you in.
But for the most part, the only access the Jews have is to that western wall. That's and so they believe that that's the closest they can get to the presence of God.
Right.
And there's male side, female side, and you walk in there and these men are beating their heads on the wall. Yeah. They're grabbing onto the wall,
crying
they're
next to the wall,
crying. They're calling out.
Yeah.
There's
men here, and then there's a wall dividing the women too. It's kind of funny.
And the scribes on the side sitting in these tables with these copies of Torah scrolls, and they're writing, and you just look at it, and my thought was just, they're so desperate. They're just desperate, and they're crying at a wall.
Yeah.
And Jesus has come.
Me and some of the Christians.
I felt sick.
Yeah.
I just felt like I literally felt sick, and I say this in all respect. Like we have friends that took us there, and I know they think, and it's like they're it's Paul says in Romans, they have zeal without knowledge. It's like all this zeal.
That's right.
Like this hunger, this desire, and Paul says it's zeal. Like they really mean to know God and to love God, and I can take that. And it's like, and he's come.
Yep.
And you don't have to bang your head on a wall. He's come.
And you're in the land where Jesus walked.
Where he came.
Yeah. And you're still not listening to your prophets.
Right.
To this day.
Yeah.
Still not.
It's just I think that was just underlined as well. And so I can say all the things that I've said, I think, and say I think we should see Israel as this front line in the battle against barbarism and insanity that's happening right now. I think we can say that's because, in large part, because there's actually a conservative resurgence happening.
Yeah.
It's a Christless, it's an openly Christless conservative resurgence. But I can be grateful for that common grace, Old Testament resurgence. To whatever extent it's pushing back that and holding back that wall of insanity.
Yeah.
I love the land. I love that. That's like, those are my people. Like that. That's I'm part of Israel in Jesus Christ, the true Israelite.
Yeah.
And then lastly, just underlined, pray for Israel.
Yeah.
Pray for the Jews.
Imagine if the Jews repented.
Yeah.
In our nation, in our time now.
Romans 11 says, Paul says there's been a partial hardening, a partial blinding. He says, why? So that the Gentiles will come in, and then the Gentiles coming in is in order to provoke the Jews to jealousy.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why we need to say, like, this world belongs to Christ. It belongs to us.
Yeah.
And we need to be fighting. We need to be having babies. We need to be faithful to our husbands and wives. We need to be creative and industrious. We have Christ. And I think in all that, calling Israel to faith and repentance in the Messiah who came for them, who fulfills all the scriptures that they search. You search the scriptures. Because you think in them you will have life, but they are them which speak of Christ, who's come. And I have come to greatly appreciate and love those folks that had us over.
They're great.
They were so hospitable, so kind, so gracious, and it's because of that my heart's even more broken. Where
exactly. That's right.
I love you.
That's right.
And I just read Matthew, read Hebrews, come to Christ.
I'm glad you guys made it back safely.
Yeah.
We didn't even tell you about the rockets we heard and the explosions.
From the war. We were 2,000 feet from the Gaza.
I gotta say this. I didn't play the music, but I gotta say this. I think one of the moments easily that'll stick in my mind forever, is we were hundreds of feet from the Gaza Strip, from the Gaza border.
At a military base.
Military base with a bunch of reservists whose main job is to make sure that a bunch of aid is getting in
to the front lines.
Feeding the terrorists.
Yeah. No, that was America's job, actually. Okay. America's base had on there. Their job is to bring food in.
Okay.
And their job is to supply their troops.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I got my
America's bringing humanitarian aid over there.
But anyways,
but not
right on the line, you hear the thunder of artillery and rockets in the distance.
This is daytime.
And this is like late afternoon.
We're 2,000 feet away.
And they turn on Israeli
hip hop music,
dance music, and they get pull out.
Ben Merkel's grilling and barbecuing,
and we have a barbecue
chicken. And at one point, they grab Ben Merkel to dance with them in a circle.
and it's
that's great.
But I just it was very surreal. It's like we're in a war zone, and I think again it's partially something I think that in a common grace kind of way can be a real inspiration to America. American Christians have been far too apathetic, far too cowardly, far too lazy. And we're like, it's not so bad. I'm annoyed by the trans stuff. I'm annoyed by homosexual marriage. I'm annoyed by all these things. I thought the Israelis held together this sort of they've got their M16s and they're having a feast.
And chicken in their mouth.
And chicken, it's like guys, we have the gospel. We can do this better. Yeah. We ought to be doing this better.
Absolutely.
They're still provoking me to a kind of envy. No, we can do this better. We have Christ. We need to build and fight.
Yeah, sword and trowel.
We have sword and trowel, but we have the barbarians are at the gates. They're in the gates. And in Britain and in France, they're they're running things. They're
saturating the gates.
Yeah, and so we need to fight, but we need to fight not with the shrillness, not with the panic. We need to fight with joy in our hearts. We need to fight with food in our mouth and laughter in our belly.
Amen. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. If you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
Sign up for the conference. FightLaughFeast.com.